What's going on, y'all? It's the first official Knowledge Rides podcast brought to you by NERDBOXER Media. NERDBOXER was created to provide a platform and voice for Black intellectual males, particularly biological fathers. Though our content is aimed at Black males, we produce content that anyone could listen to. If there is an issue with us promoting a positive message to the Black American male, this is not the podcast for you. We will not ever entertain the idea of changing that stance. This podcast will have intervals of dialogue provided by myself and the smooth sounds of chill hop music. Proper credits for the music is located in the comments. That being said, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. This is our very first podcast, and we want to welcome all of you and say thank you for tuning in. It's been a tough road trying to balance work life, being a father, and putting the website together and the podcast together, but with time, I converted those mistakes into knowledge, and I hoped that it leads to the wisdom to all of you. I'd like to send a shout out to my Instagram family, Mr. Freeport, aka Professor MGTOW, Random Negro, Disbeliever of Lies, man, you know you crazy with those posts, fam. Man in the Mirror, The Counselor, Free Speech for a Black Man, Dork Chocolate, aka Keith, I see you, fam. Mr. Know-It-All Rants, Black Love is Divine, what up, wrong? Petals from a Black Rose, always blessing me with knowledge when it's time for it. Shout out to my man Tony Mac, 78, out there in North Carolina, from the stomping grounds of Greytown. Khalil the Brand, Thoughts Men Aren't Supposed to Think, and their sister site, Thoughts Women Aren't Supposed to Think. Justine, spelled C-I-N-E, author of the book series So Frail, which he just released a new version of So Frail, Toxic Femininity. We'll get into that a little bit later. Brother Ben X. I've been watching the young brother ever since his car broke down on the side of the road, and he has grown to be a very influential force on social media. Much respect to you, brother. But I'd like to give a special shout out to all the Black men out there who are not perpetuating negative stereotypes, pursuing knowledge of self, and standing by their communities the best way they know how. There's not a whole lot of us out there, and as you know, there's a war on Black masculinity. But we'll get into that in the future podcast. The goals of this podcast are to provide you with a different experience. Most platforms do not cater to Black males unless they are following the trends. Here, we focus on Black masculinity, Black positivity, and Black male leadership. We aim to provide a safe place for Black males to speak. Everywhere else, we're typically censored, but our aim is to bring out the intelligent, educated brothers who wish to make a better way for the community. We aim to help boys, men, and fathers in any way that we can, whether it's networking, news, career opportunities, etc. We also aim to provide a place for us to laugh and crack jokes, but not become so goofy that it appears to be another minstrel show. We wish to bring awareness to issues such as health, bad habits, economic issues, and coming up with healthy solutions. Emergency planning and preparation, that's something in the Black community we don't speak of enough. Hurricane Katrina took a lot of lives, and many could have been saved had we had proper planning habits beforehand, but we'll get into that in the future. Most of all, we want to treat our fellow Black man like a respected equal. We don't want to be another place that is filled with misandry, putting Black men down, further casting that dark shadow over the Black community. We just don't want to do that here. Speaking of what we don't want to do, let's get into what we are not interested in. First and foremost, politics. Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, liberals, yap. This is not the place, the space, the time, or situation for any of that. We're not going to entertain it. We're not going to get into the back and forth that's rooted in those politics. There are a million other outlets out there for you. You can have at it. This show here is aimed at biological fathers who are heterosexual males and have children with heterosexual women. We are not here to go back and forth about who's right and who's wrong. However, you do need to understand that this is a place for Black biological fathers who are heterosexual, and the things we talk about will be centered around the heterosexual family. We will not promote gang and street life in any way, shape, or form. Yes, we will talk about these things because they're a reality in our community, but we are not here to promote one gang over the other. We are not here to encourage that type of lifestyle. We are strictly against it, and quite frankly, I believe it has done more harm than good. Celebrity gossip. Occasionally some things may come up and we may speak on them, but I'm not going to get caught up in the he say, she say, who's sleeping with this person or that person. However, if it's dealing with something that affects us as men, such as character issues, I will speak on them. Religious ideology. If you're a Christian, Jehovah's Witness, Nation of Islam, Sunni Muslim, Shiite Muslim, whatever your background, Confucius, and whatever it is, we may quote something from that lifestyle, but we are not promoting that lifestyle in any way, shape, or form. If that is your belief, thank you. If I say something that is incorrect, please reach out to me and I will clarify. However, we are not here to promote religious ideology in any way, shape, or form. Misandry has no place at NERDBOXER Media at all, ever. We will not disrespect women, and we most certainly will not be worshiping them. Outside of that, we want to bring you the type of show you can listen to around your parents and your children with no issues. We are not perfect and we will make mistakes. Profanity won't be one of those mistakes. You won't have to worry about turning it down out of nowhere because some improper language flies out of nowhere. We won't be doing that. We want a family-friendly environment. Yeah, that was the sounds of Philanthropy in his track called Blue. I want to take some time to talk about the 1 Minute of Wisdom series that I've begun to put together. Basically, the thought process behind that is I wanted to deliver some information really quick without losing the listener and also leading to a higher level of understanding. Vocabulary and definition based approach, giving you the word, giving the definite meaning and some examples. That way anybody that's listening can relate. The 1 Minute of Wisdom is great for parents who are driving with their teenage son or daughter and want to strike up an intelligent conversation with their children. Perhaps hearing a word like condescending and say, hey, have you dealt with this? You just might hear of some bullying or unfair treatment from a teacher or some mistakes that your own child is making. But it's also going to teach your child to have a vocabulary. It teaches your child to have an intelligent conversation with people that are older than them and establishes a certain level of trust with your children when you're both speaking to each other. And honest dialogue. There are a lot of parents and children out there that are experiencing almost a separation or a gap, if you will, in conversations. And it's just something we wanted to do to promote education. Coming up next, we got a song by 1-2, spelled W-U-N-2. It's called I Like. Why don't you just sit back and relax and enjoy the vibes, and we'll be back in a few. Yeah, that was the sounds of 1-2 in a track called I Like. I want to switch gears for a second and speak to everybody about death. As you know, Nipsey Hussle just passed. I'm not going to get up here and act like I was his biggest fan or even bumped his music in the past, because I didn't. However, I respect how a man was rough and tough or whatever he was in his youth and completely makes a change. And what I mean by change is uplifting the community you once destroyed or hurt or held back. Nipsey loved his children. He appeared to love his wife. Everybody respected him. It was real unfortunate how it went down. I really don't want to get into it. Still a sore subject. The man's just now on the ground. But as Black men, we all have heard or seen or experienced a certain level of death that resembles Nipsey, the guy that everybody liked, the guy nobody had a problem with. You always hear people say the good die young, and why did it have to be him? He never, did anything to anybody. And Nipsey appears to be one of those cases. Seems like the whole city, whether they were Blood, Crip, or just not even in the street life, they had nothing but good things to say about him. But the point I want to bring up about Nipsey is there are Nipseys in all of our neighborhoods that have been putting in that same work, and we haven't acknowledged them. These men are fathers, they're football coaches, firefighters. Some of them don't even really have a job, but every time you see them, they have a positive vibe about them. You never hear nothing bad about them, and they're always looking for ways to make their life better. I don't know what else to say about that subject except sleep in peace to Nipsey Hussle. I hope he was able to make the money that was necessary to take care of his family after his death. I know his wife is going through a lot, and I know his kids haven't even had a chance to experience the pain that'll come in the future, but at least they can look up and know that their dad was loved and admired. That's something I hope to promote with all Black males with the next generation of men and women, to look up to us and love us and appreciate the job we've done. It's a song called Summer Love, the Inglewood remix by Panther. Yes, y'all, that was a track called Summer Love, the Inglewood remix by Panther. I want to take some time to talk about maturity and accountability. Both are something I struggled with for a very long time, and I'm still getting rid of a lot of my old habits. Just to take you back a little bit, I was that knucklehead back in the day, running behind some of the wrong people, trying to be something I wasn't, which was a thug and a corner boy. Turns out I'm quite the nerd and love to read, but at the time I lacked the maturity to appreciate that side of myself and did everything I could to hide it. As ignorant as that might sound, it's the truth. The truth be told, I refused to keep a job, spent all my money or other people's money on weed, living with and off of women. They get mad, I'm on the couch, you gotta get out. Hey, I've been there. Wasn't taking care of myself, my finances, relationships with my friends and family suffered. You name it, I went through it. Truth be told, I had a childlike mindset, entitlement issues, lacked discernment, didn't understand the difference between holding myself accountable and identifying toxic behavior of others. Well, the year my youngest daughter was born, I was in the middle of a bitter custody battle for my son, which I lost a lot of time, money, and love for people. Went through a very ugly period of bitterness towards everyone. But at some point, I had to hold myself accountable. I put myself into that situation. I did not protect my finances. I blindly flew into the relationship thinking love healed all. And that type of love actually killed all possibility of me actually trusting anybody. But more than anything else, I can say that I lacked maturity. It wasn't until I was about 35 years old that I realized that I was going to be that 40-year-old loser that I clowned when I was 20 years old. I realized I was my own worst enemy. And I began to read. And when I tell you I began to read, is I just shut down and stopped being social, and I sat in the house reading book after book. I can say I've read more books in the last 5 years than I have my first 35 years of life. I read everything, history books, things on Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, you name it. Maturity is not when we start speaking big things, but when we start understanding the small things. And when I began to understand the small things, big changes did in fact start to happen in my life. Let's get back to the music. This track right here is by AJMW and it's called For Them. That was the sounds of AJMW. The track is called For Them. As I said earlier, I do listen to chill hop. Chill hop was one of the biggest reasons why I was able to find inner peace. The sounds of this music that I've been listening to for the last about 2.5 years have really changed the way I looked at life and view music. I'm very appreciative of it. As I told you, I read a lot of books over the last few years, and one of the books that stand out to me the most is a book by the name of So Frail, A Reality to Black Male Masculinity. Masculinity is defined as the spiritual, mental, and physical embodiment of the essence of analysis and deconstruction. This essence has been suppressed and or removed from the psyche of black men, rendering the black man devoid of his natural essence. I find myself reading this book often, at least 3 times a week, whether it's just one chapter or just going all the way through it. I absolutely love this book. It opened my eyes to a whole lot, and I just can't recommend it enough. Mr. McGee has also released the second installment of the So Frail series, titled So Frail, Toxic Femininity. By the time this podcast reaches you guys, I will have received that copy. And I promise you all that I will be doing not only a review on this new installment of So Frail, but I will do a compare and contrast between them both, and eventually getting Racine on the air with me to answer a few questions and to kind of expand on things. Racine has a website, justcines.com. That's justscenes.com. He also has a Instagram account. That is _JUST_CINE_. He also has a YouTube channel, a very in-depth series. He lets it all out. He covers a variety of topics, and I just can't recommend this brother enough. The last shout out I do want to give out is to the Incorruptible African. He is a brother that I have been following on Instagram for quite some time, and he has filled in a lot of holes in regards to Black history and African history. He currently has a Patreon account. It is Blacktegrity, BLACKTEGRITY. That's www.patreon.com/Blacktegrity. Also has a website, www.ancientfuturecollective.com. I just want to thank you guys for spending some time with me. This is the first podcast. I will get better with time. I am a nervous wreck, but it's all good. I'm thankful for having an edit and punch button. I made a few mistakes here. Won't tell you how long it took me to put this together, but it is together as promised. I just want to say thank all you for taking the time to listen. I hope this was somewhat of an enjoyable experience for you. I thank you for taking the time out to listen. For our next show, the emphasis will be the word condescending. I think it's a subject we need to speak on as men. Sometimes we try to use intelligence as a weapon and end up making ourselves look foolish and downright ignorant. If you haven't already, go over to Instagram and follow us at The Real NERDBOXER. We are also on Facebook under The Real NERDBOXER. And last but not least, we are on Twitter at NERDBOXER. Thank you very much again. I hope all of you are good. I hope all of you are blessed. I hope you have a safe weekend and productive work week. To all the black men and black fathers out there, I just want to say misandry is real. Racism is real. Discrimination against black fathers in family court is real. And there's only a small number of men who actually have the spine to stand up for black men unapologetically. I strive every day to be one of those people. I have a long way to go, but I won't stop pushing. And as black men, we can't stop pushing. The men in the 80s and 90s stopped pushing, and outside forces were able to push social services, crack cocaine, and abortion in our communities. It's to the point now, if we disagree with any of those things, we are the devil. But if standing for what I believe in and standing up for the black community makes me the devil, point me to the lake of fire. This is Knowledge Rise for NERDBOXER Media. Check us out at nerdboxer.com. Peace.